There is a state that has the deepest river gorge in North America, a sand dune field that sings when the wind moves across it, a wilderness so large you could lose Rhode Island inside it, and a stretch of river canyon deeper than the Grand Canyon. And the only thing most Americans can say about it is potatoes. That state is Idaho, and I am going to tell you right now that the potato joke is the least interesting thing about this place by an enormous margin. Idaho has more whitewater rivers than any other state in the lower 48. It has a wilderness area larger than the state of Delaware, where you can travel for a week and not see another human being. It has lava fields that NASA used to train astronauts because nothing else on Earth looked enough like the moon. The version of Idaho that exists in most people's heads is a flat agricultural state they drive through on the way to somewhere else. I drove through every region of it: the Panhandle, the Sawtooth Range, the Snake River Plain, the Salmon River Country, the Hells Canyon Corridor, and I built the list. 15 places in Idaho that will completely rewire what you thought this state was. Let's get into it. Number 1. Hells Canyon, Idaho County. The deepest river gorge in North America is on the Idaho-Oregon border. Carved by the Snake River, to a depth of 7,993 feet, measured from the He-Devil Peak on the Idaho side down to the river deeper than the Grand Canyon by over 1,000 feet. And almost nobody outside the Pacific Northwest knows it exists. The canyon is roadless on both rims for most of its length, which means the only way to truly experience Hells Canyon is by jet boat or raft on the river itself, with walls rising vertically on both sides until they close out the sky to a narrow band overhead. The Hells Canyon wilderness on the Idaho side protects the most rugged section, where bighorn sheep work the cliff faces above the river, and the rapids wild sheep. Granite are among the most technical whitewater in the country. Multi-day raft trips through the canyon are the definitive way to experience it, camping on sandbars with the canyon walls glowing orange at sunset and the river running cold and fast in front of you all night. Number 2. The Sawtooth National Recreation Area, Custer and Blaine counties. The Sawtooth Mountains rise in jagged granite spires above a valley of lakes and meadows that gave the range its name for an obvious reason. The skyline looks like the teeth of a saw. Redfish Lake, at the base of the range, gives you the single best reflection shot in Idaho. The granite peaks doubled in the still morning water before the wind picks up. The range contains over 40 peaks above 10,000 feet and more than 300 alpine lakes. And the Alice Toxaway Loop through the heart of the wilderness is consistently rated one of the finest backpacking routes in the American West, climbing through granite basins and past lakes so clear you can count the trout from the trail above. Stanley, the small town at the northern edge of the range, sits at the confluence of several premier whitewater rivers and operates as the gateway to one of the most concentrated areas of high alpine beauty in the country. Number 3. Shoshone Falls, Twin Falls County, higher than Niagara Falls. That is the sentence Idaho residents say to every visitor who has not yet seen Shoshone Falls. And it is accurate. The falls drop 212 feet over a horseshoe-shaped rim on the Snake River, 36 feet higher than Niagara, in a desert canyon setting that makes the volume of water feel even more improbable. In spring, when snowmelt from the mountains peaks the river flow, the falls run at full volume and the mist rises high enough to be visible from town. By late summer, the irrigation demands upstream reduce the flow significantly, which means the timing of your visit changes the entire experience. The canyon below the falls, carved by the Snake River through layers of basalt from ancient lava flows, continues for miles with additional falls and rapids. And the Twin Falls area sits on the edge of one of the most dramatic and least known river canyons in the country. Number 4. Craters of the Moon National Monument, Butte and Blaine counties, a landscape of black lava fields, cinder cones, and lava tube caves so closely resembling the lunar surface that NASA brought Apollo astronauts here in 1969 to train for moonwalks before any human had set foot on the actual moon. The Great Rift volcanic zone that produced Craters of the Moon erupted as recently as 2,000 years ago in a series of 8 major eruptive periods that left behind 618 square miles of lava flows, spatter cones, and lava tube caves you can crawl through with a flashlight and a permit. The Inferno Cone, a cinder cone you climb in a few minutes on loose black volcanic gravel, gives you a 360-degree view of the entire lava field stretching to the horizon in every direction. And standing at the summit with nothing visible except black rock and distant mountains is as close to standing on another planet as most people will ever get without leaving the atmosphere. If you are watching this and you have not subscribed yet, hit subscribe right now, smash that like button, and drop a comment below telling me which of these first 4 places you had no idea existed. Every comment and every like genuinely helps this video reach more people who want exactly this content. Hit that bell. Let's keep going. Number 5. The Frank Church River of No Return Wilderness, Central Idaho. The largest contiguous wilderness area in the lower 48 United States outside of Alaska covers 2.3 million acres of central Idaho, larger than the state of Delaware, with no roads, no permanent structures, and a population of 0 permanent residents. The Middle Fork of the Salmon River runs through the heart of the wilderness for 100 miles and is consistently rated one of the finest multi-day whitewater trips in the world, with over 100 rapids, natural hot springs along the riverbank where you soak while watching the canyon walls darken at dusk, and a fish and wildlife population, chinook, salmon, steelhead, mountain goats, wolves, mountain lions that exists at a density almost nowhere else in the lower 48 can match, because almost nowhere else has this much uninterrupted habitat. Number 6. Bruneau Dunes State Park, Owyhee County. The tallest single-structured sand dune in North America rises 470 feet from the desert floor in a state park in southwestern Idaho, and the dune sings under the right wind and moisture conditions. Sand avalanching down the steep face produces a low humming or booming sound that has been documented at fewer than 40 locations on Earth. The dune formed in a natural bowl where wind currents from 2 directions converge and deposit sand without dispersing it, a geological accident that has been building for roughly 15,000 years. The park's observatory, built specifically to take advantage of the dark skies of the Owyhee Desert, offers public stargazing programs. And climbing the dune at sunset to watch the shadow of the peak stretch across the desert floor below is one of the most underrated experiences in southern Idaho. Number 7. Lake Coeur d'Alene, Kootenai County. Often ranked among the most beautiful lakes in the world by national travel publications. Lake Coeur d'Alene is a 2.5-mile glacially carved lake in the Idaho Panhandle, surrounded by forested hills that turn brilliant gold and red in fall. The Coeur d'Alene Resort's floating boardwalk, extending nearly 3,400 feet into the lake, is the longest floating boardwalk in the world and gives you a vantage point over the water that no shoreline trail can match. The Centennial Trail along the lake's edge connects the town of Coeur d'Alene to Spokane and gives cyclists and walkers a continuous waterfront route. And the osprey nesting platforms visible from boats on the lake in summer are part of one of the most successful bird recovery stories in the Pacific Northwest. Number 8. The City of Rocks National Reserve, Cassia County. A granite spire landscape in south-central Idaho that pioneers on the California Trail wrote about in their journals as one of the most striking sights of their entire westward journey. The City of Rocks contains granite formations rising up to 600 feet that have made it one of the premier rock climbing destinations in the country, with over 1,000 established routes on rock that climbers compare favorably to Yosemite and Joshua Tree. The pioneer wagon ruts are still visible in places, and the names early travelers carved or wrote in axle grease on the rock faces in the 1840s and 1850s are still legible. A direct physical connection to the overland migration that most historical markers can only describe rather than show you. Number 9. The Snake River Birds of Prey National Conservation Area, Ada and Owyhee counties. The highest density of nesting birds of prey in North America occupies an 8-1-mile stretch of the Snake River Canyon south of Boise, where prairie falcons, golden eagles, red-tailed hawks, and great horned owls nest in the volcanic cliffs above the river in concentrations that have made this area a globally significant site for raptor research since the 1970s. Spring is the prime nesting season, when the cliffs are active with adults hunting ground squirrels in the surrounding sagebrush steppe and returning to feed chicks visible from boat tours and overlooks along the canyon rim. This landscape, an hour from a state capital, hosts one of the most scientifically important raptor populations on the continent. Number 10. Silver City, Owyhee County. A nearly abandoned silver mining boomtown high in the Owyhee Mountains, accessible only by a rough 2-3 mile gravel road. Silver City had over 75 businesses and a population of 2,500 at its peak in the 1860s and 1870s. And today, the surviving structures, the Idaho Hotel, the Catholic Church, dozens of wooden buildings leaning at angles decades of snow load, have produced stand essentially as they were left, with no restoration project smoothing over the genuine decay. The town had telegraph service before Boise did, a fact that speaks to how much wealth flowed through these mountains during the Silver Rush, and walking the empty main street today, with the wind moving through the open doors of buildings nobody has occupied in generations, is one of the most authentic ghost town experiences in the American West. You are 10 places deep and you are still watching. Subscribe right now, hit that like button, and drop a comment below telling me which of these 10 places surprised you most. Hit that bell because the last 5 places are the Idaho that even Idahoans have not fully explored. Let's finish this. Number 11. The Loxa River and the Lolo Trail, Idaho County. The Loxa River corridor in the Idaho Panhandle follows almost exactly the route that Lewis and Clark took, crossing the Bitterroot Mountains in 1805. And the river itself is one of the finest whitewater corridors in the country, with continuous rapids over a 70-mile stretch that draws kayakers and rafters from across the region. The old-growth cedar groves along the river bottom, some trees exceeding 150 feet and several centuries old, survived the logging era because of their inaccessibility, and the historic ranger stations and guard cabins built by the Forest Service in the early 20th century along the Lolo Motorway are preserved as a window into the earliest era of federal forest management in the American West. Number 12. Redfish Lake Lodge and the Sawtooth Wilderness Trailhead, Custer County. While Redfish Lake itself made the list earlier for its reflection of the Sawtooth Peaks, the lodge and the trailhead network surrounding it deserve their own mention because the access this single location provides to the Sawtooth Wilderness is unmatched anywhere else in the range. A boat shuttle across the lake cuts 6 miles off the approach to the high alpine basins, and the Saddleback Lakes Loop, accessible from the shuttle drop point, gives day hikers a genuine alpine lake experience without the multi-day commitment that most of the Sawtooth backcountry requires. Number 13. Massacre Rock State Park, Power County. Despite its grim name, Massacre Rocks along the Snake River preserves one of the most significant and visually striking sections of the Oregon and California trail corridors, where towering volcanic rock formations narrow the natural passage along the river to a point pioneers called Devil's Gate. The wagon ruts here are some of the most distinct and well-preserved on the entire trail system, carved into the basalt by tens of thousands of wheel passages during the Great Migration years. And the Visitor Center tells the documented history of the area's actual single violent incident in 1862, correcting the exaggerated frontier mythology that gave the park its dramatic but inaccurate name. Number 14. The Sun Valley Resort and Trail Creek Canyon, Blaine County. America's first destination ski resort, established in 1936 by Union Pacific Railroad Chairman Averell Harriman, specifically to drive railroad passenger traffic, introduced the world's first chairlift here, and the surrounding Trail Creek Canyon offers some of the finest summer hiking and fly fishing in the Wood River Valley once the snow melts. Ernest Hemingway lived in Sun Valley during the final years of his life and is buried in the town cemetery, and the Sun Valley Writers Conference that the resort hosts each summer continues a literary tradition that the valley's unusual combination of mountain culture and creative community has sustained for nearly a century. Number 15. Sawtooth Lake at sunrise. And you stayed. You end this list at the Alpine Lake, widely considered the crown jewel of the entire Sawtooth Wilderness. reached by a 5-mile trail that climbs nearly 1,800 feet through forest before opening onto the lake basin, with Mount Regan rising 9,860 feet directly above the water on the far shore. You hiked in the afternoon before, camped at the lake's edge, and woke before dawn specifically for this. The granite face of Mount Regan, completely vertical on its eastern flank, catches the first light minutes before anything in the surrounding basin, and the still water of the lake doubles the entire scene in a reflection so precise that photographs of it require a caption to clarify which half is the mountain and which half is the water. The temperature at this elevation drops well below freezing, even in midsummer nights, and the cold, clear air at sunrise produces a sharpness in the light that lower elevations never achieve. You sit at the lake's edge with your coffee going cold in your hands because you cannot look away, and you understand in that moment exactly why this state, with everything else it has to offer, named its premier mountain range for the very edge of those granite teeth against the sky. That is Idaho. And now you know exactly where to go. Here is your assignment. 3 places. Write them in the comments right now. 3, not the whole list. 3 you are actually going to commit to first. That public comment is the difference between a video you watched and a trip you actually take. And when you have done your 3, come back and tell me which one surprised you most. I want to know if Hell's Canyon felt as deep as the numbers suggest. I want to know if the dunes at Bruneau actually sang for you. I want to know if Sawtooth Lake at sunrise was everything I said it would be. These are the stories worth having. Subscribe right now, smash that like button, drop your 3 pics in the comments, and hit that bell. I will see you in the next video.